Hello, my name is Emile Tompa, and I'm the Director of the Center for Research on Work Disability Policy. Welcome to today's session. It is entitled School to Work Transitions, Promising Practices to Support Transitions into the Labor Market. This is part one of a two-part exploration of school to work transitions. Part two is called A Multidimensional View of the School to Work Transitions of Young People with Disabilities. It is being held on the third day of the conference on Tuesday, December 1st at 1:15. In today's session, we have three panelists. Our first panelist is Aryeh Gitterman, Adjunct Professor at Ryerson University. As a professor, Dr. Gitterman shares his knowledge and experiences in managing complex social policy issues. Aryeh was Assistant Deputy Minister for the Ontario Ministry of Children and Youth Services, where he was responsible for policies and programs for children and youth on the autism spectrum, community-based mental health, and child protection. Our second panelist is Tanya Kett, Career Counsellor at McMaster University. Ms. Kett counsels students in career exploration, job search strategies, and further education options through a student-centered approach to bring clarity and instill optimism and confidence. Tanya also counsels students who identify barriers to their employment, as well as those from diversity groups, to develop action plans with successful outcomes. She is student-centered, community-minded, and an advocate of lifelong learning. Our third panelist is Jenna Lambert, Student Advisor for Act to Employment at Carleton University. Ms. Lambert completed her Master's of Social Work at Carleton University and works as a Student Advisor for Act to Employment. As a person with a disability, Jenna understands the complexities often involved with navigating the workforce for persons with disabilities and works to create inclusive opportunities through education and community engagement. So for our three panelists, I've given them three questions to address. The questions are, what are the key challenges experienced by young adults with disabilities in seeking meaningful employment experiences while in school and/or when transitioning into the labor market? The second question is, describe the initiative you have been spearheading that helps young adults find meaningful employment. And the third question is, what best practice recommendations would you give young adults with disabilities, post-secondary institutions, and employers and other stakeholders based on your work? So thank you and take it away. Enjoy the session.
Thank you for inviting us to present this afternoon. On behalf of my colleagues Judith, Wright, and Pervin, I'd like to describe to you a little bit about a project we're recently involved in. Let me start off first with the issue. And this will be familiar to many of you. There's a significant disparity in the employment rate between post-secondary graduates with disabilities and post-secondary graduates without disabilities. In addition to the disparity in employment, there's a disparity in income post-graduation. And this is compounded by the environment that post-secondary institutions are living in right now. And by that, I mean the number of students with a disability has increased in number and as a percent of total enrollment. And more so, the type of disability has changed dramatically over the years. More than 75% in Ontario of post-secondary students who register with disability offices had non-physical or invisible disabilities in 16-17. There's also a longer-term impact in terms of persons with disabilities more likely to live in poverty and half as likely to graduate from post-secondary education. A bit of background before I get into some of what we found. Judith, Barry, and I are all experienced public policy professionals from the Ontario government. We have a significant amount of experience in health, education, social services, community service, children and youth, and we have held a variety of responsible jobs in government. The policy issue we're talking about crosses many areas within government and crosses many boundaries outside of government as well. And nevertheless, we believe it's a problem or issue that can be fixed if the right approach is taken to it. We started by first getting a clear understanding of the problem, specifically from the perspective of students and graduates, and we made a commitment to talk to as diverse a population as we could, including expert students, graduates, and employers. Let's start with the problems as identified by the students themselves. The first is the reality of a low expectation set. And these low expectations are set by students themselves, institutions, service providers, and employers. Related is the fact that the disability is not as a cost, not as a skill or a qualification or a benefit. And once you define disability as a cost, you basically are approaching people with a deficit approach. That is, something has to be done to fix your disability or to work around it, rather than to, quote, take advantage of the positive aspects of it. There was an important problem identified in terms of the level of recognition within institutions that helping these students find employment is actually part of their core mandate. It certainly is part of what happens in institutions, but whether the funding and the supports reflect a core mandate is really the question. Lack of opportunity for meaningful work experience. There's a difference here, of course, between universities and community colleges, but there was a belief that this opportunity for work experience was not equivalent for students with disabilities. And of course, that would put them at a competitive disadvantage when looking for employment. The approach of matching people, that is matching prospective employees to prospective employers, is a kind of well-accepted approach in the labor market, but it's really not clear that that approach recognizes the unique situations of students with disabilities in terms of understanding their skills and understanding what employers need that could be matched to that skill set. And lastly, the agencies and organizations whose job it is to support these students may not be as up-to-date as they should be in terms of labor market analysis, recruitment tools, assessment processes. And assessment processes were mentioned quite a lot by the students themselves. That is, assessment questionnaires and so on do not recognize the different life that these students have. Given that we're policy people, we took a policy analysis approach to these problem statements, and we tried to describe the environment, the complex environment and context that students are living in, and also that makes solving this problem complex. Where would one start? We've described the starting point as encompassing a variety of design principles. Let me go through them one by one. We believe all 5 of these have to be considered at the same time or applied at the same time. So if one were changing a policy or a program, one would have to consider each of these. Let me start first with individualized design. What we mean by that is a recognition that the student is an expert in something, and that expertise has to do with understanding their own life. They know what they need. They know what would be helpful to them. And what that implies is that one program with one set of expectations or definitions is not going to necessarily meet their needs. They need to be involved in that design. In addition, we believe that in some fashion, programs and policies have to explicitly promote self-determination, a recognition that the students themselves need to be able to control their life, advocate for themselves, make decisions about what is useful and not useful, and what they need and want to do with themselves post-graduation. Work-integrated learning or work experience, we believe, should be an integral part of any policy or program design. You can't escape the fact that work experience is an advantage, and students with disabilities need to have adequate work experience and employment preparation before they enter the labor market. The matching system, as I've mentioned already, needs some significant improvement. Employees, prospective employees, need to understand the language of employment and employers need to understand better the language of disability. And lastly, and this is probably true with nearly any policy that is going to be designed, there's a role for technology. And in this area, we believe that opportunity has not been met yet. There's a much more number of possibilities for technology. We're not experts in technology, but certainly they should be approached in the same way that the other 4 design principles are approached. While we work through an understanding of the problems and work through an understanding of what one would put in place to start in terms of design principles, we came to the conclusion that a place to start would be work integrated learning. So well understood concept, lots of progress being made within institutions and expanding, whether described sometimes as experiential learning or work integrated learning. We believe there's lots of opportunity here specifically for students with disabilities. What would that look like and why is that important? First, workplace experience is a credential. Employers are looking for it, and if you don't have it, you're at a disadvantage. Many students with disabilities have not had a chance, whether coming through high school and cooperative education, part-time employment, summer employment, they haven't had necessarily the same experience and therefore are less able to present themselves, to describe themselves to employers compared to those with that experience. They need to be able to talk the language of employers, and that comes with practice and experience. Next, soft skills. Everyone talks about the need to have soft skills, the fact that employers are looking not only for technical and operational skills, but for these so-called soft skills. And if you haven't had experience in a workplace, you will not have the ability to demonstrate soft skills. Work integrated learning or work experience gives you that experience in a safe environment, in an educational environment. Combined with education around self-determination, students with disabilities should be able to graduate with those hard skills, soft skills, and with the ability to talk about themselves in a positive way. And last, in our discussions with employers, we've found a lot of receptivity for a diverse talent pool. Employers don't necessarily understand how to talk to people with disabilities, and the students themselves don't necessarily understand how to raise the question of accommodations or what they need because they haven't had enough experience in doing so. Combined together, the problems, the design principles, and an opportunity to focus on a very specific area called work integrated learning, we think there's opportunity for improvement here. Whether we're talking about government at the provincial level, whether we're talking about post-secondary institutions, or whether we're talking about those agencies and organizations that are in place to support them. Thank you very much. Very much looking forward to questions and answers. Let me just say that Judith, Barry, and I are quite able to follow up at a later time if necessary. Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm Tanya, Kett, Career Counsellor in the Student Success Center at McMaster University. I'm here to present on our Career Access Professional Services, also known as CAPS. Diversity at the Student Success Center is guided by McMaster's commitment to creating a brighter world. When pursuing experiential learning and career development opportunities, the SSC recognizes the importance of inclusivity, diversity, accessibility, accommodation, and equity. We take an individualized approach when working with students, campus, and community partners. What is CAPS? So CAPS is a service that is housed within Student Success Center. We're a department made up of several different areas, including academics, current employment, international student services, experiential programming. CAPS is some of our team members working together to provide support specifically to students who identify as equity seeking or have barriers to employment from a diversity group. The CAPS team provides individualized support to assist with all aspects of career development, including exploration, further education, preparation for employment, and building skills and confidence, hopefully resulting in self-advocacy. Through fostering employer and partner connections, the Student Success Center supports students and alumni in gaining access to experience building and career opportunities. So our alumni services include those up to 10 years after graduation. This isn't a CAP-specific mandate. This is part of our Student Success Center. What are diversity and equity-seeking groups? This includes, but not limited to, those who identify as having a disability. This could include mental health, chronic health, psychological, physical, cognitive, intellectual, temporary or permanent disability. Those that are from a diversity or equity seeking group could also include those from Indigenous, First Nation, or Métis communities, racialized communities, first generation, those whose parents who haven't attended post-secondary education institutions, and those who identify from the 2S LGBTQ community. We also recognize and understand that students might identify from more than one, potentially creating more complexity. Sometimes disability is comorbid with another disability. Sometimes disabilities are also intersecting with another equity-seeking group. So we understand that students come from very unique areas and therefore would benefit from a customized and inclusive support. Our rationale also includes that Statistics Canada has shown us that more Canadians are reporting disabilities. And as such, more students with disabilities are attending post-secondary education. So you can see here some stats from Stats Can and the increase from 2012 to 2018. And similarly, those attending university with a disability has also increased over a longer period of time. And specifically at McMaster, we have seen the numbers triple in the last 10 years. And so reasons for this are varied, and I won't get into details, but it could include different definitions, more students identifying and disclosing, as well as stigmatization may have changed for certain groups over time, making them more likely to disclose. We also know that universities are actively recruiting from diversity populations to improve access, so retention is needed. Providing recruitment and helping them get in is only part of it. Retention is needed. Accommodations, academic accommodations aren't enough. Student affairs, this is where I work, Student Success Center, as well as Student Accessibility Services. We fall under student affairs, and it plays an important role in overall student development by providing opportunities for engaging outside of the classroom, including the development of academic, social, and career skills, which are pertinent to success once people graduate. So it's also helpful in retention because it creates a sense of belonging. So getting into university and attending class and getting accommodations for those classes isn't always necessarily enough to create retention and to create a sense of belonging and support that students need for success throughout university, as well as transitioning to employment or further education after graduation from their undergrad. So the CAPS team is made up of a few of us within the Student Success Center, but we also rely on other partners. So there's the career counselor. That's my role. There are other career counselors that do provide CAPS support as well, and usually they point of referral to provide frontline support for career development and employment prep, as well as further ed. What I typically do is conduct a needs assessment, and we create an action plan together, and I follow a case management model. So for CAPS students, I'll do a bit more follow-up, whereas students who I see outside of the CAPS program may not need the follow-up or might not be as reliant upon resources and follow-up as compared to those in the CAPS program. We have a diversity employment coordinator. She is active with employers on and off campus, offering funding support for eligible employer participants our eligible CAPS participants as well as eligible employers. Management to oversee our key performance indicators, our strategic initiatives, marketing and outreach, ensuring our big picture successes. We have student staff, so part of our success is helping to employ students within our CAPS program to support our CAPS program, including stats, resource development, and give us a lens from the student perspective when we're in our planning stages. We wouldn't be successful without our campus partners that identify and refer students to CAPS as well. Our diversity employment coordinator is a huge counterpart of mine. We work very closely together. There's a number of staff that work with CAPS. She and I work very closely with the majority of our CAPS participants. So just a little bit more about this role is to identify and cultivate relationships with inclusive and supportive employers, again, both on and off campus. Establish community partnerships to support diversity student hiring, and to work with employers for workplace accommodations, for example, alternative interviews, or helping students self-advocate for their accommodation plans. Our program goals are to help participants increase their awareness about resources both on campus and in the community. For many of these diversity populations, either they have so many options coming to them all the time through their various supports, or they may not know what exists on campus, especially if they're away from home for the first time or aren't accustomed to the supports that are very vast and wide array at McMaster or any university. So we help them to navigate the options that are available to them, and through creating the action plan, provide some support and recommendations that are tailored to their career and employment goals and needs. And through that, we help them to build a support system of both professionals and peers, again, both on and off campus, through their involvements. This enhances communication and self-advocacy skills to improve their chances of employment throughout their university undergrad years as well as post-graduation. This also improves confidence, abilities through identifying strengths and personal assets, and you'll see in the testimonials in a little bit that confidence is something that we just instill hope and confidence that really comes through in some of our participant testimonials. We help to link classroom learning to real-life experiences, a little bit more on how we do that in a little bit, and overall helping them to gain experience and build skills through work, volunteer, experiential opportunities throughout their undergrad year so they feel prepared for employment or further ed post-graduation. Keys to our success is a customized and individualized approach with providing support and services, flexible to their career development needs, and that students can choose the services and supports that make sense for them rather than a process that everybody has to go through. High mobility, so there's a couple of asterisks here, just due to COVID, we're all virtual, but when we were on campus, we were offering support in the Student Success Center, but also providing office hours in student accessibility services and working to create other potential spaces to also provide office hour support in other spaces. Currently, being virtual, we do still provide options in terms of platforms to use, such as Microsoft Teams, Zoom, phone, or email. And we have a collaborative approach with our employers and on-campus partners, so that way students can get the benefits of their supports in their faculty, through other student affairs departments, and throughout our own office if any other referrals are needed. So we help to coach on how to approach others for support, whether it be a professor or another staff member. We can help them to craft the email or to help them to create the introduction as needed to take a little bit of the stress off of approaching somebody new. Here's an alphabetized list of some of our CAP supports: accommodations and disclosures in the workplace, career exploration, also includes further ed as part of career exploration support, decision making, particularly around level 2 programs, but also decision making that might occur in between other years, like program switches or anything about changing their current trajectory. Employment resources and preparedness, grad program application support, job support, job coaching and retention. So it's not just about securing the job, we want to see success ongoing as well. So our diversity employment coordinator will also help with retention support as well, both for the student and the employer. We have networking events and career fairs, interview preparation, paid, unpaid, and experiential opportunities, and of course resume and cover letter writing. So while this is available to many of our students at McMaster, we provide a bit more of the ongoing and individualized coaching support with these areas, a little bit more strategically, more customized to cater to the students' needs. And this is again another promo slide that we use in workshops. It's a photo of CAP student as well as our former CAP students, now alumni and employed, and our CAPS team with a little bit more of our branding and promo. And with that, I hope that this has been a helpful presentation, and I look forward to questions in the panel event that follows. Thank you.
So our response to question 1. We have been spearheading a program called ACT to Employ, which supports Carleton undergrad and graduate students who identify as having disabilities in finding paid experiential learning placements while they obtain their degree. We work with talented students and supportive employers, creating opportunities for students to learn transferable skills and gain work experience while they study. Placements are part-time, around 10 hours per week, and are structured around the student's academic schedule. A wage subsidy is available for eligible on-campus positions. Our team, comprised of 2 student advisors, available to support students throughout their job search and placements, and an employment program support coordinator, available to support our employer partners, provides support to students and employers from the creation of accessible job descriptions, including all of the details an applicant might require in order to successfully determine their fit for a particular position, to the application phase, including the creation and review of career documents, at the interview stage, including mock interviews or the implementation of interview accommodations, and in the workplace, such as the implementation of workplace accommodations, check-ins, and disclosure support. Support is provided to the student and to the employer to the extent that they request and require. Our goal is to facilitate meaningful employment opportunities for Carleton students with disabilities, and our main objective is to support students in the transition to the workforce by providing quality hands-on work experience throughout their university degree. So our response to question 2. A few of the key or common challenges experienced by the students we work with in seeking meaningful employment experiences at school seem to be a lack of previous field-related employment experience, a lack of confidence in their skills and strengths related to employment, including a lack of ability to articulate those skills and strengths gained through previous work experience and volunteer experience or academic courses, challenges related to creating career documents, such as a resume and cover letter, which adequately represents their skills and experiences, despite the availability of career resources on campus, such as a career coach or counselor. Challenges related to disclosure, including if, when, and how to disclose disability to an employer, how to engage in conversations relating to disclosure with an employer, and fear about the implications of engaging in those sorts of conversations. Challenges related to traditional interviews, accommodations may be provided to support the applicant's success. Consider alternatives to interviews, such as task performance, casual style interviews, offering to provide interview questions in advance, providing the option of a support person during an interview, or conducting one-on-one interviews as opposed to group interviews. Oftentimes, qualified candidates speak to us about their frustration with the interview process. They know that they're qualified to do the work and would very much like to do it, but they can't seem to represent themselves well within the high-stress environment posed by a formal interview. We suggest making applicants aware of the potential alternatives at the application stage so that they will feel comfortable asking for accommodations. We also found that there's a lack of available opportunities for our students. This may be especially true for students who are seeking experience in a particular field or area of interest. Our students who are looking for employment in the community are often frustrated by confusing or inaccessible job descriptions and end up self-selecting out of job opportunities because they're unable to see the connection between their experience and skills and the job description itself. Finally, we sometimes find that our students struggle with maintaining the balance between work, life, and school. I would say that this has increased since COVID-19, with a recognition that we're all managing more stress than usual. For this reason, we've built a high degree of flexibility into our placement process, including reduction of hours, flex hours around exams and other stressful times, and students are made aware that they can reach out to their advisors at any time for support related to placement or to their disability office for assistance related to their studies. In light of these challenges, we wanted to suggest a few ways that disability-confident employers can support students looking for employment during this time by advancing inclusivity in the workplace and incorporating inclusive hiring practices into their routines. Start with a job description that clearly outlines the duties and responsibilities you want the incumbent to perform, and outline the essential tasks associated with that position. This is an important step. Oftentimes we find that employers construct their job descriptions based not on the essential tasks associated with the position, but rather on their ideal candidate. This practice may confuse or discourage applicants with the necessary qualifications from applying to the position. We also encourage you to include information like job location and environment. For example, remote versus on-site work, the location and type of building, parking options and access to the building, floor and room number, etc. Students will use this type of information to determine whether or not they're a good fit for the position. During the interview process, we encourage employers to ask questions and to provide tasks that will demonstrate the student's ability to perform the essential duties of the job. On the job, we encourage employers to create an environment of open communication. Let students know that you are a supportive presence and that they have someone to go to at any time should they have any questions or concerns, or should an accommodation need arise. Many of our students are coming into degree-related positions for the first time, so it's possible that they may encounter a task that they have not had to perform in the past. It's important that they understand that they may disclose their need to you without feeling as though it's going to negatively impact the working relationship or your perception of their abilities. Creating rapport, a sense of safety, and proactively implementing open lines of communication for students may increase the likelihood that they will come to you with potential concerns, and if or when a need for accommodations arises. We also want to make sure that you know that we have a large pool of talented job seekers with disabilities. We would love to connect our talented students with your organization. Visit www.carleton.ca/act to learn more about our program, or contact Amanda Hodgson at Amanda M. Hodgson at carleton.ca to discuss your recruitment needs and how to access our talent pool. So our response to question 3. In terms of best practice recommendations, we would like to suggest that it may be helpful within the post-secondary context to have a student advisor available to assist students throughout the hiring and work term process. Someone with whom they can build rapport and engage in difficult conversations, including disclosure of disability in the workplace. At the same time, it may be helpful to have support available for employers looking to increase their disability confidence and inclusive hiring practices. By providing resources and education to employers, we can create supportive work environments, accessible jobs, and increase important experiential learning opportunities for current and future student employees. Act to Employ creates a safe space for employers to address their questions and concerns and supports employers as they enhance their hiring processes. Within our context at Act to Employ, we would love to partner with other employers and community organizations to create an array of jobs to meet diverse student needs, interests, and future career goals. We would be happy to speak with you about how you can engage with our campus life and with our students to create these opportunities. We also recognize and recommend that organizations need to increase their reach and invest in their on-campus presence. Despite the fact that Act to Employ has over 700 active registrants, there's a large body of students with disabilities at Carleton that we haven't connected with yet. And we recognize the need for networking and engagement strategies that meet the needs of those students and encourage participation in our programs. In light of the challenges related to job search strategies and inaccessible job postings, we recommend creating job descriptions that are clear about the tasks associated with the job, the format of the interview, and the wage. Employers can do this by using clear headings and unambiguous language. You may also wish to offer employees alternatives to interviews, a list of interview accommodations, or to indicate common types of accommodations used in your work environment. At Act to Employ, we provide each student with an onboarding package that outlines what they should expect from the position, types of questions to ask their new employer, and common workplace accommodations. This form is also supplied to the employer so that they're aware of the types of information that their employee may inquire about. For first-time student-employer pairings, we encourage the employer to meet with the student so that they can address any concerns or questions openly. Students should be encouraged to work with their Disability Service Office staff to create individualized strategies that work for them related to time management, procrastination, organizational skills, prioritization, and other professional skills. This is valuable learning that may not be available after graduation, but it's essential in the workplace and is highly transferable. Finally, students should be reminded of the transferable nature of their experiences and the diversity of their skills. Career services staff can assist with the creation of career documents that accurately reflect those experiences, including paid and unpaid placements, volunteer opportunities, internships, co-op terms, and relevant coursework.